to the congressional office temporarily representing the 29th district, and that office had said to them that I had moved. And I said, well, they're right, I have moved. Most recently from my kitchen to my living room. But concepts and reports of my leaving the area permanently are absolutely untrue. As proof of that, I brought my teenage daughter, who is a sophomore at Corning East High School, who will be graduating from Corning East High School. So the concept of us leaving the area is just not one that's in the cards. I have spent the last 3 months now, although it has gone by so quickly since the election, focused on a couple different activities. One is thanking people who supported my candidacy, which is my main purpose here tonight. Personally, for those of you who I have not personally seen or had a chance to write a letter to or an email, thank you for your energy, for your financial support, for your commitment, for all the thousands of things that so many people did to make this race as close as it was. In the final analysis, it was a 1% race, 49-51. And if 1% of the population had been able to vote differently, we would have won, and you would have a completely different form of representative government in Washington, D.C. The second thing I'd like, so thank you, and I say that with great sincerity. I learned so much being a candidate and stepping into the public light, and one of them was how incredibly humbling it was to have so many people embrace this candidacy and move out together in areas, frankly, that no one ever thought. I mean, let's look back to the first time I came to this group. People scratched their head and said, huh? Who's this guy? It's absolutely impossible. In fact, the editor of Congressional Quarterly, which is one of the newspapers that people read in Washington, D.C., called my race 2 years ago a fool's errand. 3 weeks ago, they published a list of the 15 races nationwide that are in play for the Democrats. New York 29 is one of them. A response to the query of what changed elicited the answer, the last race. I have said, and this is why I have become so absolutely convinced that Governor Dean was and is right, that the Democratic Party must go where the Democratic Party is not. We cannot stay in Los Angeles and New York City and Chicago and Miami if we have any hope or desire to bring true American progressive values, equaling true American values, to the forefront of this country. We can't go where we're comfortable. Men and women like myself and you have to talk and engage people who say that we're wrong. Because through that conversation they realize that no, that's not the case. And this administration continues to do, as if they are singing from a playbook that we wrote, the exact series of actions needed to prove to America that we must continue this tidal wave of change. I believe personally, in my heart and soul, that 2008 is going to be an even bigger tidal wave than 2006 was. I really believe that in my heart and soul. 70% of the American people today state that our continued escalation in Iraq is not only morally unconscionable, it's a financial burden that we cannot, and it's just plain wrong. And this administration continues to move. I spent most of yesterday reading the budget, line by line, because I got to know what I'm talking about. It comes to 2008, there's no funding for the Iraq War. $100 million in 2007, zero in 2008. As if by some magic wand, Karl Rove's lies are just going to be perpetuated past the election, and we know they're not. So now is not the time to sit on our laurels because we had a successful 2006. And let me tell you something, for those of you who were involved in the congressional campaign, you didn't lose. You didn't lose at all. We forced the Republicans to spend $2.5 million in a district where they budgeted zero. They thought this was the safest district in the Northeast. $2.5 million they had to commit. $1 million of it in the last 2 weeks. $1 million from the Republican Congressional Campaign Committee for 2 ads that they ran every 15 minutes. Eric Massa is going to raise your taxes. Eric Massa is going to destroy Social Security. Now that proved part of the logo, that you can fool some of the people some of the time. But their time has come and gone. And it's passed. And now this organization and many others like it around the country should be all about the elections of 2007. Whether it be village board in March in Pittsburgh or taking and putting a new Democratic majority in the county legislature of Monroe County, come November. Both of those things are incredible focal points where organizations like this can leverage their membership and make a huge difference. It's right around the corner. 2008, a little bit farther down the horizon. So my efforts are all about raising money, raising visibility, going door to door, and participating in every election possible in 2007. You want to think globally and act locally? Let's put a new majority, a Democratic progressive majority in the village board in Pittsburgh. I tell you what, that will shake up the ground and create a few tidal waves that they don't see coming. Likewise, right here in Monroe County. So there's wonderful and excellent opportunities for political action. And let us not go quietly into the night. Now is not the time to say, well, I don't like to talk about politics with my neighbors. To hell with them. Now is the time to talk about politics with your neighbors. I used to say that I always pick the longest line at Wegmans, because that's the definition of a captured audience. and there's ways to engage without offending, and there's ways to engage without alienating. I've been trying to learn those. I get halfway there and not so. And there'll always be that percentage of the population which is unreachable. But I'm very excited about leveraging from 0 to 49%. With your help, that's what we got. I was at 0 when I started 2 years ago. We ended with 49%. The question for 2008 in my heart that I have to make a decision in the next 48 hours. I'm going to be back in Washington tomorrow. I've been summoned to the high throne, and I've got to report back what my commitment is, what my decision is. And we're waiting for 1 or 2 more calls. You just heard one of them that I had today. I had a lengthy phone call with a particular individual who was talking to us all today about what the future holds. And I'm very pleased to say that to date, support from the National Party is overwhelming. And it's not because they love me. I'll tell you, I'll be very, very candid. They said, listen, we have nowhere else to go. We have to go where we had 49% races. Which to me is much more credible than someone saying, Eric, I like you. Eric, I like you won't buy you a cup of coffee. Eric, we've got to go to New York 29 to build a party and survive as a majority. That I understand. And that I believe. So I'll be making a decision with my family in the next 2 to 3 days. We'll be reporting back. We're not going to be very public about this. We're going to tell key supporters, be quiet. And I tell you with all honesty, I don't know that answer as I stand here. But for the past 2.5 months, I've been having kitchen table meetings in every county, soliciting input. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What can we do better? We've strengthened our website and rebuilt the technological back end of it to do a lot of things that it couldn't do before. There's a website up, www.poolwatch.com, which is tracking his every vote. And we're looking for people who want to be editors in that, who want to participate in that website process. I'm blogging on Daily Coast every Sunday from 3 to 6 p.m. with new weekly editorials. So all those things that we learned, we continue to. And I'd like to ask now for just a little feedback. I'm going to ask for 2 things that you thought went well and 2 things that you thought we could have done better in the 2006 congressional campaign. Who'd like to lead off? Let's start with the positive. 2 things that you saw that surprised you that went well.